if you've ever stumbled across a song from an artist that you had no idea of their existence until that moment, and even then you didn't really know who the fuck they were, what did you do after that? Did you jump on the web and try and find out every little detail and context about them you could? Or did you just blissfully keep going? No, this entered my life. That's great. I like it. I don't want to know too much more. That's as far as I'll go with it. Because there's, for me, two directions. One is, deep diving into finding out as much as possible. The other is just enjoying the fact that it's just the song. It's just that lyrical or that sonic experiences, or when you put them both together, you would add the S on the end of experience for sure. Yes, I won't speak in third person, nearly did. When it comes to my approach of a conversation with Milena and Tom of this incredible band out of Holland called Gold, who have just released a record that is absolutely incredible, titled This Shame Should Not Be Mine. And as you'll see me frankly say to them, I didn't do any research. It was a pleasure for them to say, yes, let's chat. All right, now let's dig in and get to know each other. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out a bit of What Was That Radio. Discover more modern rock at whatwasthatradio.com. And here's a conversation with Milena and Thomas of Gold. Oh, wonderful. It's both of you. Oh, this is great. I think I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Oh, fabulous. Thomas and Milena, it is such a pleasure to meet you. My name is John.
John, nice to meet you.
And transparency is utterly key. And it's important that you know that I found out about you a few weeks ago when Looters... Why are you frozen on my screen here? Let me just double check. I didn't hit something wrong on my end. Open that back up. There we go. That was me. Thanks for the jig. All right. Oh, it's done it again. All right, there we go. Let's just keep it like that.
Stop doing it.
It's me. I don't know what is wrong with me. It's just been one of those days. But no, I'm so excited to speak with you because transparency is important. I only found out about your incredible band a few weeks ago when Looters, who are doing promotion here in North America, sent out their email and was like, right, here's notes on how to trust. And I was absolutely blown away for a multitude of reasons. Then Invisible, there's This Shame has appeared as well, Should Not Be Mine Today, that shares the same album title name, which comes out next Friday. And then I research, okay, you've been going for 10 years. You're one of those bands where it's embarrassing when you're like, how did I not know about this band? Because I am blown away by the particular... everything from your production to your lyrical content, everything is so preciously put together. And your music is that it should completely blow your brain to smithereens, but it is so well balanced and so beautiful at the same time. It is so transporting. I could wax lyrical. I could pump your tires for the next 15, 20 minutes, but it's important. It's important for you to know that usually the way I go about these sort of conversations is dissecting and diving in and learning about as much as I can about the artist as possible. But every now and again as well, I love not knowing anything. And so beyond what I've just shared with you, I've not gone too much further because I was so excited to speak with the both of you. And so firstly, some context on me is that I worked in modern rock commercial broadcasting for 10 years. I'm on the west coast of Canada, but originally from the south of England. And at the start of the pandemic, it seemed like a good time to challenge myself in a different way. It was nothing against the company I was with. It wasn't a lack of friendships or growth to that point. It was just that having had 10 years in modern rock broadcasting, I just wanted to do as much as I could to push myself. So I launched my own online-based station. And What Was That Radio is purely about modern rock and modern alternative. There is nothing older than the 2017 release. I feature over 5,000 bands, but of those releases, it's all really 90% of the playlist since 2020. And it's about just constant forward momentum and really diving into what are these new incredible bands. And you're not a new band. As again, you've been around for a decade. But to me and to many others, you might be new as well. And so that's the quick context on me. So firstly, how did your day go? How was your week? Where are you? Thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Well, it's super exciting times, of course, with the album release just a week ahead of us. For the past few days, I've been operating as a one-man assembly line, packing pre-orders from all the
we do a lot ourselves.
Yeah, we do everything ourselves in this band, which we love, and keeps us busy, I guess. So we've been packing pre-orders ready to be shipped.
Doing a lot of interviews.
Yeah. Releasing videos, working day jobs.
We're going on tour from next Saturday on, so we're focusing on rehearsing for that as well, and deciding on which songs to play and stuff like that. So there's a lot to do. Definitely.
Yeah, the hustle is real, especially after the last couple of years. The one thing that we were just watching before you joined us, the This Shame Should Not Be Mine music video, and I adore, straight out of the gate, the way that you presented it with you're being interviewed. And this is something that this is what I always say. This is just thank you. I love the fact that you've got someone in there saying, let me just dive in and tell me everything about it. And there is a certain expectation in media and just in human interaction that we expect that you're going to unload everything, your darkest secrets, off of the cuff of one question when you don't know this person. And that's why, for me, when I go about conversing and having interviews and conversations with people, those that follow me along, which is so awesome, they hear the same context again and again and again, because it's imperative that you share if you wish to converse. And so we'll dive into this a bit later on, in the sense of what happened to me when I was much younger and why Notes on How to Trust resonated, impacted me tenfold. But I would like to, if you're comfortable with, just going back to the start of how Gold came to be in the first place.
Oof. Yeah, well, first there was the relation. So Milena and I, we are partners in life for 12 years now. And I used to play in this band called The Devil's Blood from 2008 till 2011. And when I left that band, or actually when I was dumped, kicked out of the band.
He left it, yeah.
I needed to make my own music again. And who was more logical to do it with than my very talented partner in life?
He was asking me like, I'm looking for a singer for my band. Do you know somebody? Right here. That's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, so that's how we started. And Igor, our drummer, he's been with us since the very beginning. I knew him before that. He's an awesome producer and produced some of my other band's music back then. And we just started writing and making music, and it's been very adventurous since, because we developed a lot. We evolved a lot.
We always try to. I mean, this is our 5th album already, and every album has been pretty different, I think, especially if you listen to the first one. It's the total opposite of what we're releasing next week. And in between, there are 3 albums that are, I think, a gradual change to what we're releasing now. And with this album, we've been using a lot of electronics as well, which is new for the band. But I think what we're always looking for is to do something new, to not, to not make something we already made, and also to try and use new ways of making the music. So with vocals and lyric wise, I think we kind of stayed where we were from the beginning, although there's obviously a progression in that as well. But with the instruments, especially on this new album, we've been just trying to write stuff very naively. So we just started writing music on our computer at home because of COVID, more or less. Also because we were already really interested in trying to use synthesizers and beats and sampling and all that kind of stuff. So we were really focused on just trying stuff out, seeing whatever works, and just turning some knobs. And that kind of worked out, and it became this new album.
And I think for me it's important to be the kind of artist that I like, and I like artists that challenge themselves artistically, and when they evolve, they do it for artistic reasons, not for commercial reasons.
You're the kind of person that also listens to so many new songs every day. Like,
to compare it to one of the biggest discographies in the world, I would always choose Metallica's Lulu over Metallica's Load, even though maybe Lulu is to many people the biggest failure in the world. It's an artistically challenging album. I don't say it doesn't necessarily succeed, but everything else that Metallica did post Black Album was not artistically challenging themselves, was in first instance probably more commercial, and then getting back to the roots and trying to rehash what they once did best. And Lulu is like the exception. So I always try to at least be kind of more Lulu than Load, if you understand me.
No, I do. I think you're speaking my language. I think you're getting the gist of where I'm at in the musical realm as well. That's what's so interesting. Like, it's easy to make jokes about Lars Ulrich and 50 takes stitched together for Anti-Sandman to just sort of gloss over what was there before. But that's what you've got to do. It's much like, I mean, for me, that's why I dived out. And that's what I always argue about bands as well. Not argue, but in debate with people about, oh, why didn't they just release the same record as last time? Because you got to keep evolving. But it sounds like Milena that, Thomas, did you even know that she could sing all those years ago?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Milena, what's the story? Sarcasm aside, then, what was your journey into the world of music that then results in you and your partner making music together in Gold?
Oof. Well, I started playing cello when I was 5. I somehow was privileged enough to get the chance to start playing, to choose an instrument and to start playing that instrument from a very early age. And I think what happened was me being super interested in all these different music genres, not only rock music, but definitely also classical music and all that kind of stuff. And I've been in a lot of bands before, but always more in the background. This is the first band I've been in where I was like front, at the front of the stage. So for me, this is a different experience. Although with 10 years in, I have to say that by now it feels kind of like a regular thing to do. But yeah. Before this, I was more like I played cello in bands. I did backup vocals, that kind of thing, but never really front. No.
And then how has it been? How has your journey as a couple evolved in the different stages of making records? Obviously, yes, the big talking point in the last few years, we're indoors a bit more than usual. But if you look back at your last decade together, and then you separate the music from the relationship, how have you gone about creating together?
Yeah, well, very naturally, basically.
We share a lot of time together anyways.
Yeah.
And what was nice, what is nice is the kind of the way we make music is that one of us starts writing something and the other one joins. And at first it was really, with the other albums, we started writing on guitar most of the time. And was Thomas playing guitar and I would just add something to it, and we would try to figure out how to make a song out of it.
Well, Milena is also the artistic filter. I would have come up with like a zillion ideas, and she would pick out the few that were good or inspiring, and make sure that all the excess garbage was we would leave behind. And so I think that's also Milena's strong role in this, is to actually see where the quality is.
Yeah, maybe conduct it a little bit, or to see what stuff we can use and how to write songs. But I have to say, if there's moments that I halfway through I wouldn't feel like writing the song anymore, we would just sit down and watch a movie or something. I mean, if you're together all the time and you're in your own space, then it's super easy to write music. We're not the kind of band that goes into the rehearsal space and says we have to write a song today or something like that. It just goes really organically and naturally, I think. And that's, in that way, with this new album especially, we've just been sitting behind our synths and computers, and we've been just recording weird sample vocals and using them, and we were just kind of fooling around. It was just a lot of fun to write the music, although it is about a very heavy topic. But I think that is also one of the reasons that my lyrics are, my lyrics are really. You have to finish the sentence.
Get some honey tea.
For me, what's important is that making art has to be playful. So that there has to be this element of adventure, of experiment, of failure, of freedom.
Yeah, but I think what I wanted to say is that I'm super comfortable with just writing down whatever I want to talk about because it's you. And then eventually it obviously ends up with everybody if anybody wants to listen to it. But at first it's just me sharing my stories to you, kind of. So it's it's a gateway to all the other people, I think.
Yeah.
And then how do you loop in the rest of the band members, or do you? Because I've seen live performances. Oh my God, I really can't wait to see you live with 6 members on stage. So how do you then, once you've got the main foundation of what is New Gold, how do you spread that amongst the others to get their take on it, or their input, or their musicianship on it?
Well, we kind of go into the rehearsal space, and most of the time we just play them something that we've written, and we ask them what they think or how they feel or what song they want to work on, because sometimes it's more than one song, and then we just start playing that song and start finding out what other people want to add. So we kind of there's just this space for everybody to add whatever they want to add, and then obviously there's me filtering the stuff again. So I always kind of try to find a way to make it whatever we already had in mind. But they're really amazing musicians, and they're really good at adding the stuff that we really want to be added to the songs. So that's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. When you find someone from back in the day when I was in a few bands here and there, it's trying to find that person that just knows what you're going to do without communicating it. They're walking with you. Speaking to your point of when you're writing music, you know, we all moved in together. That improved our writing ability. Instead of going to the jam spot, spending an hour and a half, dragging all the shit upstairs, getting it sorted out. Then you've got 90 minutes and you're spending $100 and we got to write a hit. And when, come on, it's just not going to work. It has to be natural. I love the fact that, Melanie, you were saying that, well, with Thomas, I can share anything. You know, I already love him. I'm with him. I feel safe and respected by him. So I can release. And the context for me as to why Notes on How to Trust really impacted me is that, and as a trigger warning for anyone that's watching, is that when I was 10 years old and I was at primary school, elementary school in the south of England, and we were getting new bathrooms put in, and there were these sort of log cabins, makeshift bathrooms put out on the playing field. And one day a couple of guys came in the back of that room and they abused me and tried to drown me. And it's pretty harrowing, and it comes out pretty comfortably because I was asleep for most of it. I was in and out of consciousness, and no one believed me. And I love my parents. I love my parents dearly. But at the time, the teachers were like, what is Jonathan doing in there? Trashing the bathroom, covered in water. And like, I was clearly messed up. And that meant that throughout my teenage years, I just didn't really know. We all go through it as kids, you know, you go through, am I a metal person, an emo person, a prog rock? You know, you go through your different outfits and costumes and your hair styles, and it's called growing up. But for me, it was a lot more pertinent in like, who am I? Like, who the fuck am I actually? Like, how am I going to navigate this world and find strength to enjoy, insert all these things here? And so when I watched the music video and obviously listening to the lyrics, I mean, I was crying watching it, because one of the biggest things that I spent a decade on was not crying when it rained, because every time water hit my head, a droplet or a throw the whole teapot over me, it was a reminder of, well, sort of a memory that's fractured, because I know something bad happened and I've got the issues that go on forever, but I don't really fucking know what happened. Yeah. And now, you know, Melanie, you're getting, this is why I love the fact that in This Shame Should Not Be Mine, the music video for the latest single, you've got that TV host just expecting that you're going to tell him everything about your harrowing past and events. And that's the biggest thing that pisses me off about media, is it just because you work for Rolling Stone or NME does not mean that you are the gatekeeper to this person's soul. So it's with that, and with this context, you will share, the pair of you, what you're comfortable in sharing. But you needed to know how that impacted me, and why I think that your artistry is just world class. And it embarrasses me that I wasn't aware of it for all these years, but we're here now. So I'm going to cherish that. So this whole record this whole record, if I'm correct in thinking from the press release, is tackling this growth, Milena, of when you were 19 years old. How do you want to address that and share what you will, how you feel comfortable?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm very sorry this happened to you. Second of all, I think I wanted to address that I'm very sorry that it happened to me. Because obviously, so what happened is that I was sexually assaulted when I was only 19 years old by somebody that I knew pretty well. I had fallen in love with him, and I trusted him. And I think with 90% or maybe more of the abuse situations, sexual abuse situations, it happens. The perpetrators, most of the time, it's somebody that that you know, a friend, a family friend, an uncle, a neighbor, whatever. Because it's super easy to use people or abuse people that trust you. And I think what had happened to me is so there's more or less two traumas, and you kind of spoke about that as well, because there's the first thing is that it happens to you, and then there's the second thing that you try to explain it to other people, or maybe even are not capable of explaining it to other people, and they don't believe you, or they think it's your fault, or they say stuff like, why did you bring him home, or how could you have trusted him, or so they blame you. And I think that is more or less a second trauma. What happened to me is that it gave me so much shame about the situation that I decided to never talk about it again, which 2 years ago, when lockdown hit, was impossible to keep inside any longer, because I had all this time on my hands and no stuff to do with the band. And then there was no escaping it any longer. It was just this one thing that was repeating in my mind, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it was just like, somebody give me something to do, because I'm going fucking crazy. And then we started to write a first song, and I just thought, let's write a song and let's see where it ends up with the lyrics or whatever, and let's see if we'll release it or not. Let's just write a song, because making music is probably the thing I love doing most. So what we did was focus on that. And then when we wrote one song, there were more songs to be written, I guess. So that became a piece we wrote for Roadburn. There's this really amazing festival in Tilburg here in the Netherlands, that gave us the opportunity to write a commissioned piece for them. And when we were still in the making of the first few songs, they asked us if we wanted to do that, write that commissioned piece, which gave us like a clear deadline and a clear moment for us to play those songs. So what we did was focus on that and write as many songs as possible in as short amount of time as possible, and just have like this. At first it was just like, maybe it's going to be an album about women's rights, or maybe it's going to be about trauma in a more broader way, but eventually it all came down to all these different themes and subjects that are really close to what had happened to me. So the album opens up with a song that is more about how I wish I was just a regular person, just a person. I mean, I don't think a regular person really exists, but more like a person that would have not gone through this. And the second song is pretty blunt and very obvious about how it kind of happened to me and how I was lured into the whole thing. And then there's all these different sides to it. So, for example, Notes on How to Trust is about how amazingly complicated it gets to trust anybody ever again, but also trust yourself. I think maybe even the last that last part is probably the bigger thing about Notes on How to Trust. And then the very last song, for example, is a song about healing and how you kind of want to go forward and try to overcome is maybe not even the right word. I mean, there's obviously it's not like I can like erase it or something, but it will always be in the back of my mind. But I think there is a way to just try and deal with it instead of ignoring it for so many years. I tried to deal with it in this album, and then the last song is more like a positive song, a song where you, to dance to and to just try and start getting up again.
Live life despite the trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for that context and sharing that. I mean, one of my counselors several years ago said it's about trying to turn the negative into the positive. It's about, you can never rid yourself of any impact on your life. What you can do is utilize that to power your forward momentum and not let it drag you down into the proverbial metaphorical abyss. And that's something that I've really tried to do the last several years since that conversation. Do you recall, so Milena, did Thomas know about this stuff before this all came to the floor at the start of the pandemic? Yes. So, how did you go about then sharing that with the rest of the band? Did you just say,
I think somehow they kind of already knew, maybe a little bit. I don't know how, but I think they had like a clue of what the songs were about. But there was this one point where we just sat down and I told everybody that what had happened to me in a pretty abstract way, but I tried to explain it to them, and they responded really well. And really, I mean, having a band is the weirdest thing ever, because it is like a family almost. I mean, they annoy you all the time, but you love them as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people
you see them all the time, but you don't really know that much about each other.
It's just this really weird thing, but I think our group is really we're really sweet and really kind to each other, and we're really, I think we never really, we try to never judge and to just listen to each other and to be there for each other. So in that way, it was a pretty easy thing to tell the others. I did have to tell a lot of other people about the whole story, obviously, and I did think about how it would affect me in my life. Or if you Google my name now, there's probably popping up. So these are the things that are going to pop up, and I was a bit scared about it defining me, or
I think one of the heavy things about a trauma is that it becomes a stigma, and I think that's also something that you were scared for, is talking about this. Is it doesn't just define you. But that's kind of the paradox about it, is that breaking the taboo and claiming this as a part of your whole story, as the whole person that you are, always has the risk of people just picking this piece and only focusing on that. But yeah, I think that's there, that you cannot control how other people act. But I think it's very important for Milena, but also for other people that feel comfortable with sharing this,
if you can share it to the right person with the right response, it's amazing. If you're sharing it with somebody who responds in a not so nice way, then you're in a bit of trouble. And I think that is part of the reason I didn't tell anybody earlier. But the band is a very safe group of people, so I was very lucky with that, I think. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it's really trippy, because a lot of people take ownership of something that's happened to you as an individual, and they take out any anger or confusion on you because really they feel guilt for not connecting properly and asking questions or treating you in certain ways that they feel might have added to it. Like, you know, I've got family members that I love to bits, but I've got family members who are so confused. Why can't you swim? And would just throw me in swimming pools, or why, you know, or throw me, you know, dunk my head in the bathtub, and not realizing what they were doing. And it's nothing against them. But some of the reactions I got from family members were like, this is bollocks and rubbish. You weren't. No, nothing happened to you, because that's just pushing aside their own journey.
It's for them.
But at the same time, Milena, you know, that is, a whole other process of growth to go through once you've then shared it. And you're saying worried about if someone's going to Google it. That's a whole other evolution of yourself to then get comfort in being, oh, it's out there now. And that's going to take the time it's going to take. Might be a week, might be a month, might be a year, might be the rest of your life. I mean, I don't like to put any time limits on anything because every day presents a different chance to learn more about yourself. And until that moment arises, you don't fucking know it's coming, No. But I really appreciate that. What I want to dive into now, because I know that we haven't got too long unless you want to keep going, because I will keep going. But I think the way that you compose your music is masterful. And something that I was really going off about before you jumped into the Zoom and joined me was on Invisible. Oh, quick side note, sorry. On Notes on How to Trust, the music video, that's why I shared the rain detail with you, because that cold night, you're walking down the street, you've got clearly Buddy in the body bag and then off the bridge. And this is going to sound quite macabre, but it ticked a lot of boxes for where my mind was at years ago. And I had a few bridges that I visited. And so it was just like a whoa, and that's what so many don't realize is the interlocking instances between everyone's experience that is uniquely individual and unique to themselves, obviously, but there's a lot of similarities. Anyway, with Invisible, what I adore, I'm going to play a little bit if that's all right. Let me skip to the chorus here. I might have nailed, yeah. All inside. That note there on Invisible, Invis, I adore, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the major minor, the unsettling energy that one singular vocal note does in when you compare it to the strings that you've got there and in the bass line, it instantly makes me go, oh shit, this is very particularly sculptured. So I'm fascinated by how you've gone about shaping this song in particular, because you said earlier in our conversation 10, 12 minutes ago about playing with more synthesizers and diving into new realms of creation. So what kind of synthesizers, and maybe where did the foundation of Invisible come from? Because it is so flipping cool.
Well, it's interesting because I think this one had a particular genesis story to it. The drum beat, we started with the drum beat. It's different than what you hear in the recording, but it's a beat that our drummer made when he was just creating beats for as a producer for a rapper in Amsterdam.
No, this is not for it was okay. We just asked him to just, I mean, we were trying to figure out how to use the right drum stuff, and we just asked him, like, do you have drum tracks that we could maybe listen to, see
if they inspire us,
see if we can use them.
And there was this particular drum beat that I really liked and that I took and that I started as the bass to write the song from. So I just added a Moog bass synth line to it, and the string parts that you hear in the opening theme. I think those were there first, and that was like the bass idea for me, and then I left it, and then Milena took it.
No, I remember you sitting behind the computer and listening to it over and over and over and over and over again. I was just like, can't focus on anything, and then I just somehow, it's like this earworm, the chorus, to me at least, and then I just started to, somehow it was super easy for me because you were sitting somewhere else and it was really softly somewhere in my ears. It was super easy for me to write the lyrics and to write the other stuff around it, I think. So then I came to you and we finished more or less the basics of what this song is. And I think it started with the violin parts, and then the vocals were added. And there's this pre-chorus part where we really wanted to drop down to almost nothing, just have vocals and a synth sound that we used to call the party at the neighbor sound, because that was what we wanted it to sound like.
It sounds like this beat that just comes through the wall, and then you only hear like this the very sub low of probably bigger sounds.
Yeah,
but
you really want to go to that party. You know?
Yeah.
You really want to be part of the party, but you're not. So that's kind of what we wanted to. Probably it was really inspired by the whole lockdown thing and not going to parties anymore. But yeah, we wanted to add those really big dynamics. So there's this huge theme of the chorus. The song starts out with that, and there's this really small parts, and then it's just. I think that the smaller parts are really like a very intimate way of telling the story, and the bigger parts are written in a way that it really overwhelms you, and that's also what the subject does. So I think the song is about feeling invisible and feeling unseen and having people. One of the parts of the song is that it's. You really can't look at the other people in the eye because you're just too scared to break down or cry, or you don't want you don't want them to see it in your face. And I think that overwhelming feeling that you're just trying to keep breathing and not break down, that's kind of how we wanted the chorus to sound. So yeah,
I just think it's masterful. The vocals are so eerie. And the production of this is so refined that it never makes you feel like you're going to blow out, like your head's going to blow up. Like it's masterfully, the gentle to quiet. There's no big jump. You don't jump in volume. It's all equalized. It's all the same, not equalized. It's all just at the same level. Sometimes music gets me so excited I can't even fucking describe the emotions. And that's what you two and your bandmates do, because I've heard so many songs where they would try and capture this vibe and it would end with this big 30-second blowout, just distortion everywhere. And there is something so refined and mature with how you go about producing. And so you were saying at the start of this chat, this is everything. So this is all self-produced and masters and mixed by you, or what's the...
No, we do a lot ourselves, but we love to put our work in other people's hands whose work we love and whose work we trust. And we recorded this album with Jaime Gomez Arellano, Colombian British producer who has a beautiful studio in the British countryside. Yeah. We recorded our last album with him as well. Why Aren't You Laughing? And so now we came back to record The Shame Should Not Be Mine with him. And a lot of the sounds that you hear, we already kind of settled on. But what Gomez is really, really, really good at is creating space for every element, because we tend to create quite dense, very textured songs. And he just creates space for all of them, and
yeah, he makes it possible to hear everything, and I obviously we write all the parts to be heard, but writing a lot of parts on top of each other is also a bit of a hard thing to mix and in the right way to make sure people hear it. He's definitely the right guy to produce it. Yeah
and big time. Excuse me, that's like I said at the start of the chat, like I didn't dive in too deep on research for you, so I appreciate the context, but you do have, as you were mentioning there, Milena, there's so many intricate little layers that chat and call and response that don't necessarily stand out the first listen. But I mean, I usually go through things 30 times and strip down every single layer, try and figure out every vocal, every support vocal, whatever backing vocal, every guitar part, every synth part, and then also come back at songs if I'm in a great mood, a sad mood, a sort of in-between mood, I just woke up, I'm just going to bed, everything. Side note, this goes back a few minutes ago as well when Milena was correcting Thomas on the drum sampling. I adore when I interview anyone that's in a relationship or anyone that's in a family. I spoke with Jane and the Jungle, a rock band from Phoenix, Arizona, late last year. And the lead singer... So basically, Mum was home and Mum came in halfway through the chat and was like, instantly just shit on most of what I'd been told, because I didn't realize they were both in a relationship, Brian and co. And the mum came in and said, oh, these two have been together since they were this tall and they've been in all these things at high school. And I was like, oh, this is good. You're like my fact checker. So
Wow.
I always love speaking with relationships or families, because you get that other side of it, and so it's just really cool to see that side of it. But I want to dive in a little bit deeper. Let's go play a little sample of This Shame Should Not Be Mine. Oh, before I do that, thank you to everyone that's commenting. Liz saying in the chat here, what a lovely artistic partnership you two have, so complementary to each other's strengths. Anne-Marie saying, I agree with that. Liz saying, sending warmth and kindness to all of you. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Liz laughing at the neighbor's party time idea. It's true though, right? You want to create that kind of low subsonic ideal. It's, oh, I got to go next door, man. Let's go. Let's listen to a bit of This Shame Should Not Be Mine.
I reach down in my pocket. All I find is shame. Wildfire is spreading.
I know it's a bit odd for you because you've got to listen back to the music you've spent the last several months making.
It's fine. It's fine.
And you know what the video is, but you don't. Anyway, I'm just going to play a little 40-second sample.
No spark goes to waste.
And then let's jump into near the chorus here.
Killing me in silence. Where did it go wrong? This shame should not be mine. This shame.
Was it a particular thought with the music video that when he said, welcome to our guest, was it particularly left that he wouldn't call you by your name, that you'd just be another human being for him to interview? Or am I overthinking that?
I think it was. I think, although Milena is obviously Milena in the video, it wasn't. It's not reality. It's fiction. So leaving out the name adds to the fictional aspect of the video.
And then allows the viewer to say, shit, this is me, but in a different body,
Yeah.
different experience. Bill saying, what a beautiful voice, incredible voice.
Be mine.
Oh gosh, it's just so dark and broody and so fucking cool. I'm still annoyed at myself for not knowing that you made music for the last 10 years. It's so annoying.
It's a gift.
No, it's a gift. Yeah.
I love it when I discover bands later in their career. And
Oh my God, I hate it when I find out about a band and there's just one album. Pfft. I mean, then there's just this one album you can listen to.
yeah,
There's even more.
treat it as a gift.
Yeah.
that there's more to uncover.
What would you like to share about This Shame Should Not Be Mine when it comes to the composition of it? Because there's a clear pattern here with these 3 songs you've released so far, that they are so moody and so powerful and so rich in that low end. Is that a clear concept throughout the whole record?
Well, I think so. I mean, not in every song, but I think what when I was writing down, hoe zeg je onheilspellend? Sorry, a little bit of Dutch in between.
Don't be sorry, don't be sorry.
Ominous. Yeah, is
Yeah.
that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
I really wanted everything to, what you say in Dutch, you say onheilspellend. Sounds like a
Onheilspellend?
weird word for you probably. But yeah, ominous. We wanted everything to sound just like really eerie, because that is kind of how it felt to live through this time. I mean, to live through the trauma, but also to live through the after effects of everything. There was always this like, yeah, it's always in the back of your mind. It's always there. It kind of feels like there's always somebody behind you, which I think is clear when you listen to the music. And I think it was a really important part of the songwriting for that to be there all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think it's kind of our natural inner core of songwriting. I think all our music, even if we would write a happy song, it probably would still be dark, brooding, and ominous. So that's kind of our signature.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course it fits with the topic extremely well. What's kind of specific to the song, "The Shame Should Not Be Mine," it's the only fully electronic song on the album. It was the last song that we completed for the album. So probably because all our previous albums are totally rock driven, there are 3 guitars, bass, guitar, drums, and vocals, and that's it. And now with the new album, we have this whole new electronic texture added to it. And yeah, with the final song, this song, we probably felt liberated from the past and free to really use and create this only purely electronic song.
Who needs guitars anyway? That's kind of the situation we were at back then. I think, like, fuck it, we don't have to use guitars.
I think we found a way.
We're liberated, I guess. Yeah.
To do it. I think we had to write all the songs in between, where guitars would play a bigger or lesser role, to in the end feel comfortable to not use a guitar at all in this song. And I think,
and I mean, there's still a lot of guitar on this album. But don't get me wrong, I love a good guitar, but
but the big difference is that on this album the guitars are there more as added structures to make the sound bigger or add a different vibe to a certain part, and they're not front, left, and center anymore.
Anne-Marie saying in the chat that your voice gives me chills. It's amazing. And Liz saying, so you're based out of the Netherlands. So yes, they are in Holland. I'm not sure where exactly.
Rotterdam. Yeah, or at least the 2 of us. The others are all over the place.
And so, the first record, Interbellum, came out 2012. No Image 2015. Optimist 2017. And Why Aren't You, pardon me, what is the full title on that? Why Aren't You Laughing? In 2019. So these are all things that I'm going to listen to an awful lot once we're done. But you've already gone a little bit beyond the time that was agreed, and I really appreciate that. So I just want to check in that you're okay to go a little bit longer.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you. And then also, I was wondering if you could, I'm not saying pick a favorite. I'm saying, if I say to you Interbellum, what's the first song that comes to mind on that album?
Ugh. The first thing I want to say is, please don't listen to it.
Okay, fuck it.
I mean,
if I say to you, No Image.
What is good? The good thing to say about it is that we shouldn't feel ashamed about it. It was what we wanted to write back then, but it's definitely not something we would write right now.
Well, that makes complete sense. It's evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, skip it. No Image.
Yeah. Ooh.
Old Habits?
Old Habits, probably, yeah.
Old Habits, okay. Let's listen to a little sample of that. Only about 30 seconds. We'll skip in. Yeah. This sounds like gold. The Eerie has been around for a long time. The intricacy of that guitar playing, man, that's flipping cool. Okay. I'll dive into that more later. When I say to you, Optimist.
Teenage Lust, maybe?
Yeah?
Or...
Optimist. What songs are on Optimist?
White Noise, Human Die, Summer Thunder.
What is funny to tell you is that it's a pretty dark album, but the album cover is a baby crying, and the album is called Optimist. And the baby on the cover is me. It's an actual baby picture my mom took from me.
Oh my gosh.
Me. Baby, yeah. So in a way, that was already probably. I mean, all the albums that we've written so far are definitely about feeling isolated or alone, or critiquing the world, or being, I mean, it is dark because the world is probably dark, but in this new album, it's super clear what it is about. On the other albums, I think it's more of like the eerie, always there darkness.
Well, when we played Oslo in Norway a few years ago, I was talking to this member of the audience, and I explained our music as dark, and he said, "No, you are not dark. Your music is a mirror." And I think he was spot on. We reflect the world around us as we do our inner world, probably. But that's a side note.
Okay.
Summer Thunder.
Summer Thunder. Oh yeah, good one.
It's subjective and individual, Milena. Okay, Teenage Lust. Let's just do a little bit of that. Wait, you didn't say that, did you? You said Summer Thunder.
Yes.
Okay, pardon me. Starts like that, then 30-second minute in, it sounds like this.
Takes a long time to get to the vocals.
That's fine by me. That's not meant to be sarcastic.
No, no.
There is nothing else that I would rather do. I can seem to think of anything else. There is just one way to go. And I know it's there to show me.
It's hard to press pause on this song. It's very hard to press pause. It feels rude to press pause. That's really fucking cool too. And then when it comes to Why Aren't You Laughing?
Oof.
I would say Taken by Storm.
Ah, okay. Taken by Storm.
Taken by Storm, track 5.
I hold your stare for a moment, all impacts are unknown. Beyond anything experienced, at least we're not alone. I am not the image existing in your mind. You are not the problem that I fail to describe. I was swallowed up by waves, taken by storm. Darkness closing in on me now, taken by storm. I was swallowed
My goodness, just stunning.
by storm.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, I need to see this live. Stood in the front row like this. Because I don't drink, so I'll just be there with tea like, holy shit.
This is exactly what I do.
Get me another cuppa, quick,
Like,
someone.
What are you doing, guys? Yeah.
Before this conversation started, I spilt this entire thing down my trousers and my socks. But that was the one earlier that had gone cold, so I'm not burnt or anything. It's not a sympathy story, but just that's just how my day is. Liz saying, wow, Taken by a Storm. Anne Marie, everything that we've sampled today, everyone watching, I'll throw this in the Discord and I'll put it in the notes of I'll get it on the website as well for the chat today. But no, I'm blown away by it's very clear that for many, many years now, you have been very intricate in how you go about orchestrating your sounds and your songs. And this is exactly the kind of music that gets me going instrumentally, let alone before you apply, Milena, your vocals, and let alone before you apply the journey of the lyrical content. And it's interesting, isn't it? When you look back and like when you went, oh God, don't play the first album, don't play it. But that's how I felt about a lot of things online. And that's why at the start of the pandemic, I went, you know what? I'm just going to delete pretty much all my social media. Because even though I was saying half an hour ago that it's about trying to turn a negative into a positive, sometimes there's just so much in the past that has served its purpose. You don't need it to be coming up on Facebook saying every 3 days, remember when you were an idiot 5 years ago? You know, just fucking subside that, get it out of the way. And but that's the wonderful part of growth is we're going to have to go through so many experiences in order to get to where we are. And one would hope that with every day that you exist and that you're alive, that you are proud of the person that you are and what came prior. But Bill is writing in the chat here that he might have to pause this chat and come back to it just to go and listen to the album. That's great. That's what we want. He says you're incredible. That's what we're looking for here. Don't worry about me. This will be here afterwards. Go and dive into that if it brings you joy. Absolutely, Bill. But No, we've got to go through, we've got to experience in order to grow. And it's going to come round and round and round again. And I won't lie to you, today was a more difficult day for me because one of the things that I'm still working on is that after I have conversations like this, it's an artificial high for me. I love conversing with people. I love learning about people that have galvanized me and have intrigued me. For the most part, with bands that I speak to, I've researched the shit out of them, so I'm ready to go. And I pride myself on a 10-minute chat turning into a half-an-hour chat, turning into a 2-hour chat, which they sometimes will go in that direction. We won't this evening, as I know it's nearly bedtime over there. But I got on such a high from having a conversation yesterday that this morning I woke up like, oh, damn. And I'm just trying to tackle, like, make sure the energy is right. And then I was worried that if I spoke to you, you'd be put off by I'm not maybe as animated as usual but you don't even know who I am, you know? And that's what's so fascinating about the human mind is that you don't know what to expect. So why am I getting turned in knots? Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
No need.
But it's fantastic that you are able to realize that, because a lot of people don't, and their own insecurities they project their own insecurities on other people, and they assume that how they view themselves is one-on-one how other people view themselves, and they don't. You know, most people don't even care about you. And I don't mean it. I don't mean that.
No, it's the harsh reality. It's true.
The world doesn't evolve around you. So when you walk down the street and people are laughing, they're not laughing about you. They're not laughing at you. They probably don't even see you walking the same street. You know. So and people always, especially when you're insecure, and everybody has dealt with their insecurities. I have as well. You always think that people think worse of you, and especially when you don't live up to your own expectations. But
there's this one song is I Do My Own Stunts, I'm Optimist.
Yeah,
there's this one song on our third album, Optimist, called I Do My Own Stunts, and it's just completely about that, about all these voices that all these things that you remember people telling you, or just all these expectations and all these insecurities and those things just, and then what I do in the chorus is I try to repeat and repeat and repeat. I do my own stunts. Like, dude, it's already so complicated to do the stunts. I mean, how do you do your own stunts? So yeah, give yourself a fucking break. That's kind of what it is, I think.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, or if you don't succeed, the world is still here.
It's not that, no.
Tomorrow will come.
You're good.
You're good. So be kind to yourself.
And so what are some of the goals that you have left? What are some things that you still want to dive into? If you've dived more into synthesizers on this record, what else is just in the back of your mind? Like, I really want to try this.
Ooh, good question. Well, I kind of have gotten totally into writing violin and string stuff. So maybe there will be more of that. I would love to make a properly orchestrated kind of thing, but maybe when I'm 70, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be now, but that would be amazing.
I'd love to have a musical artistical career similar to Scott Walker's or Björk's, you know, to just be someone who just makes
whatever they want to make.
Make a new album that adds to their legacy every 2-3 years or whatever, or whatever time it takes to make a new album and a new chapter, as long as it feels free and fresh and relevant. And so I don't know what our new album sounds like, and that's especially what it should be like right now, because we haven't started writing it yet. So if we would know already what our next work will be, then it would not be okay. I think.
But it will definitely not sound exactly like this album will sound. So we'll always do something new. Every album will do something that will change our view on what gold is. And somehow it always sounds like gold. So I don't know what we did.
Yeah.
But probably us being the ingredients to this band is probably the reason why it always sounds like gold. Although we always try to do something new.
Yeah, but it's not. It's because we don't try to sound like anybody else.
Yeah.
We just want to sound like us, and how we sound like in 2022 is different than the us of 2012.
Yeah.
And the us in 2032 will be different again. That's growth. That's that's evolution. And
golden 2032.
if there's still a climate, if there's still a planet, we'll see.
But then, I like
right now. I mean, imagine in 10 years.
Yeah, it's a fascinating planet that we call home for sure, that we've decided to call Earth. I like that you answered that more from a standpoint of like, well, the next record. I'm just talking like in life in general. So I appreciate that answer. I like that you talk about legacies more than you talk about fantasies. And how do you view the music industry in 2022? What does it look like around you in Holland? What does it look like around you in Europe? Just from your perspective.
Good question.
It's difficult. You know, I'm 43 years old now, so I grew up early in the 90s. And I think a huge difference in the music industry now compared to then. And I think that this is more a societal issue. And I'm going to use a positive word to describe negative, but everything has become hyper democratized. So everybody, there's a taste for every individual. You know, 30 years ago you had grunge, you had heavy metal, you had hip hop, and you had these very clear big boxes, and in those big boxes a lot of people would put themselves and identify themselves with. But now, you know, you have a zillion subgenres of black metal. You have so many subgenres of hip hop, and for all these, there's an individual flavor for every individual person, which matches an individual artist. So I think it's there's a very dense musical landscape. I think it's very difficult to. I think it's kind of telling that you hit yourself for only discovering us right now, but I think it's very difficult for a band to be noticed at the moment. There's such a competition, although I don't view music as a sport, but there's so many people, artists, and especially very good artists as well, that just beg for your attention, and it's impossible as a music listener to notice everything that's going on. And this goes for me, you know, every year at the end of the year, my Spotify re-rap, or however you call it, tells me I've discovered like 1,000 new artists that year. That's because I'm a maniac who wants to discover everything, but it's impossible. I still miss stuff, you know. But it's a luxury. There's
I mean, it's amazing too. Yeah.
It's amazing because people who say that the 60s or the 70s were the best era in music, they're wrong. The music that's being made right.
Just wrong.
The music that's being made right now builds upon that. You know, there are so many more ideas right now. There are so many more instruments and ways to express yourself. It's idiotic to think that 50 years ago it was complete, because we're still building on that. And of course, personal taste plays an important role, but
and it was fucking amazing.
Of
but
course,
it still is.
Of course, it's still amazing. And if you think Kanye doesn't add anything to what the Beatles did, then you're just crazy, you know. So I think there we have an enormous wealth of artistry happening around us, but for a band to be
just bits
commercially viable, it's very difficult, much more difficult than it was when I was younger, I guess.
So how do you strategize around that? Because, for example, I discovered you through Looters, and you using a North American company to spread the word out here. How do you plan and scheme that in 2022, 10 years into a band?
Yeah, well, we just do what we can. You know, we make music videos, partly because the visual aspect adds a layer to the story that we want to tell musically.
I think most importantly, we tour.
Obviously,
we haven't toured in the past 2 years, but what the best way to get your stuff anywhere, I think, is touring and seeing people in real life, and having that. I mean, that is something that is impossible to get online. I mean, you can listen to the music and everything, but being in the same room as a band and hearing people play music is I think probably the most amazing thing ever.
I think the main strategy is just do what we do the best we can, try to realize our vision the best we can, and then indeed create a team to work with that helps us spread our message.
Sorry.
Milena's our battery is low, so Milena.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah, there it is.
I thought there was a stray pet or something, a guinea pig running around. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
No, so yeah, it's difficult, but we're optimistic people. That's why our third album is called Optimist.
No, you're an optimistic person. I'm definitely a pessimist.
Yeah.
But that's fine too.
If you don't try, you don't succeed. So at least we try, and now we're here talking to you, 9 time zones away from where we are, and I think that's a bit of magic happening. And yeah,
I subscribe to that thought too. Yeah, I love the passion, and I almost want to flip and say you could just be my European correspondent. You know, we can exchange bands together and just keep growing, because that's the biggest thing. Why I've got nothing against commercial radio. I think radio is so powerful, online, AM, FM, digital, and all in between. But there are very clear systems at place. And so when I worked at commercial radio, you would have 5 songs that get added into heavy rotation. You would have a playlist only 2 to 250 songs deep. Then you've got those 5 songs, and you've got the subcategories of, if you go A, B, C, well, B was international. So then you'd have 4 other bands there that would get maybe 1 or 2 spins less every 24 hours than the A, because that's the cream of the crop, international or Canadian. Then C was Canadian content, heavy rotation CanCon. Again, so you've got 5, 4, 4, right? So not even 20 bands. And then those songs are going to need to get at least, or 20 songs rather, they're going to need to get at least 1,000 spins before the radio industry thinks we haven't supported us enough. Listeners won't even know who they are. So then when you look at the fact that, here's an example on Friday mornings, I do first time plays and latest additions to what was at radio. So because it's a radio show, the station goes 24/7. I broadcast daily, and then we do the live conversations here on Twitch or YouTube, wherever. But this morning, 41 songs added to the playlist after I spend the whole week skimming through, and the releases late last night and early this morning, skimming through people like Looters and anyone else that supported me still and sending music my way, or the usual, you know, check out this playlist or that, or friends or Instagram, whichever way I dive in. I have bookmarked maybe around 1,000 blogs from all over the world. One place that I am besotted with right now for rock and roll and punk is Norway. Norway is just from Pompoko to Combos to, I could tell you 20 bands that are just ripping it right now out of Norway that are so fascinating. But that's why I stepped out of the mainstream, was because I didn't see anyone really presenting true moment-to-moment, day-to-day modern rock.
Yeah.
And there are literally thousands of bands on my playlist, but that's my perception. That's what brought me joy. And then in turn, I've met with other people online saying, oh shit, I've started a station like this in Florida, or I've started a station like this in Johannesburg, South Africa. And we're exchanging bands and stuff like that. And whilst there's a lot of bands that they play that I maybe wouldn't feature, there's a lot that I do. And then they're looking the same at me. And that's what I feel the modern rock world, and many, like you're saying, there's so many subgenres, we're missing that particular spot. But then the battle I've got is that I'm not in the mainstream anymore. So getting these conversations or getting access to certain things becomes more difficult. And I won't lie, that's been challenging. But at the same time, I'm not going to fucking quit, because this is what brings me joy, is finally connecting with people like you. What a delight it's been to spend the last hour with you. This was meant to be 20 minutes. You're so wonderful. People in the chat saying it's been such a joy to get to know more about Milena and Thomas. What's the latest thing here? Liz saying your merch is very cool. I can see people are scouting the website now. Go and buy it up. But another thing, so with what was that, and then I'll stop being so passionate about me, and dive back into you a little bit before we go in a few minutes here and let you get your evening and relax. But everything that I earn is split 50-50. And then what was that? I ask $7 a month for a monthly support, or $84 for the whole year. And then half of that money goes into the academy and the foundation. And the foundation is where I then pinpoint independent bands around the world that we want to just make donations to or buy a shit ton of merch from. but checking with them that it's direct from them, not necessarily a label, which is no disrespect to the label, but making sure we're helping the bank account of that independent band. Then at the same time, the money is split and going back into the community to support me in the first place. Whether it's Miles, who's been having a difficult time out about a 40-minute drive away from here in Souk. We got him some camera gear. He'd always wanted to get into doing darkroom, and he does all old-fashioned film. You can tell I'm not a photographer because I don't know what I'm explaining, but just enough to explain what it is. Whether that's Anne-Marie, who's in the chat right now and watching and helping her support in her having to leave her home and move to a new part of Canada, and the rigmarole and the stress of that. It's just about trying to build community in my own way. And I think that's in my summary of my share with you both, and what I liked to what Thomas was speaking about the last few minutes there before I got going, because you've inspired this share, is that it's okay to realize that we can build millions upon millions of communities of self-interest. And for me, I know that I was addicted to trying to be famous growing up. Like, I knew radio was the thing for me. I talk a lot. I talk very well. I look a bit quirky. But then I realized in the last 4 or 5 years that that is not why I wanted to do this. I wanted to do it because I wanted to help propel people. I wanted to learn as much as I could about them, surround myself with as much new music as possible about them. And then if anyone's listening to me talk a lot about them, try and get those in the ears of other people that might be into them. Like we've seen in the chat here, checking your website, perusing the merch, want to leave the chat to go and listen to the songs because they're so bloody good. So there's my little passionate spiel, but that's
awesome.
I think we need to just maybe even just get back together when the record's out, if you're down with that. And then let me just show you how I really dissect music, and we'll have a completely different conversation about how you've built this. Because right now I'm just pulling this out of nowhere, and then going with what you're sharing. So I can't wait to it's only a week away. It's only a week away.
1 more week. Yep.
And next week, nobody's listening to our show, but they're listening to our album.
Yeah, and that's fine by me. No, that's fine by me. Yeah, Bill says it's marked on his calendar to check back. He's got a note ready. He's got an alarm ready. Love it.
Thanks, Bill.
Before I let you guys go, is there anyone that's watching right now that has any questions that you'd like to ask that you feel I might have missed or otherwise, or any thoughts or opinions? Because I'm cognizant of the fact that you guys have got to go and have an evening there and get ready for bed soon. But it's such a thrill to get to know you more, to get to know you at all and know you more. So thank you for that. So yes, you're getting ready for the tour. Yes, we've touched on a little bit about how you'd like to further grow, and the Bjork and where would you like to be? I don't know if I want to ask this. 30 years from now, it's hard to imagine what the world's going to be like. I don't know. That's kind of a throwaway question maybe, but I used to think a lot when I was younger about where would I be in 10, 15, 20 years, and I don't so much now. Is that the same for you? You just focus on the moment?
We do a lot, but just recently I told Milena about a short, mid-long term goal that I set myself, and it has nothing to do with the music, but it's that I want to pick up train myself in hiking and be able to do long multiple day, like week-long trails, and maybe before I'm 50, which is 7 years from now. So
it's a dream of a person from the flattest country in the world.
Yeah, I'm one of the most
have been flatter,
one of the most densely inhabited countries in the world as well. So I think I want to be able to.
You just want to be on the top of a mountain.
Yeah. Go into nature, isolate myself from the madness of everyday life, and
I think if we're really talking about in 30 years or maybe more, I think what we would really love is to have like the spot somewhere, probably nature, somewhere not so close to, I mean, we're in the city center of Rotterdam, and it's a tiny city probably compared to every city.
We have 500,000 people here.
Yeah, but it is pretty densely populated. And I think what we would love is to have a space where other musicians could come to and make their music. And my dream, at least, is to have a space where people could just come to make music, but also not necessarily to succeed, but probably maybe even
Yeah.
more to fill.
We'd love to facilitate failures.
Yeah, seriously. There's just no space for people to fill anymore because there's just, I mean, artists are releasing songs every week, and everybody has to be in this crazy pace of social media and everything. And I know that from our perspective, from writing albums, that it would have been amazing if we could have gone to a place where we just not would have to pay a lot of money for studio recordings or whatever, but just a nice space and a best environment to just make music with the other guys. And I think in our surroundings there are a lot of musicians that would love to go to a place like that as well. So in my mind, we're old people still making music, and there's other younger people and other musicians coming to our place to just work on whatever they're working on. I would love that to happen.
And I hope we still get inspired by what's happening then, and I hope we can,
I'm sure,
help people, inspire other people as well.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
Do you know where there's some really beautiful mountains?
Canada.
Canada.
Bring us over.
Well,
oh my. Yeah.
So, well, that speaks to what I'm trying to build to as well. Is, you know, my family, we lost everything when I was a teenager, and we were homeless for a few years, living in on our aunt's property. And I was still going to a performing arts school that I auditioned to get into from 15 to 18, and it was odd because I was there in hand-me-down clothes. The very first day I got off the bus, I ripped the trousers because my uncle's his trousers were too long, so I got out. It was comical. It wasn't a sad thing. I was like, oh, that's. But every other kid's walking around in Gucci and whatnot, and it was just a very different. Ultimately, that 2 years there, 2.5 years there, and then I got employed to teach there as a media studies teacher assistant for a few years afterwards. I don't think I'd be the same person if I didn't go there, because it was like, oh, from small town to near the big city of London, and like, this is the kind of talent and caliber and confidence of which people walk with. You're going to need to try and find a way. But that's why what I would like to do with the Arts Academy, for example, is I would like to one day have a school very similar to what you just said, away, not completely away, but away. So you don't hear the cars and the shouting and screaming of just usual human life, but a way where people can come and learn any instrument they want to learn with teachers that live on site, that are dedicated to just being in that community of like, and so that's why I've got friends that I've met the last 10 years that I've got guitar teachers and drum teachers and music production teachers that initially right now, for people that apply for grants, it will be online over Zoom. But we share a similar goal in that. The hiking, I think that's an awesome goal. There's a lot of it around here, and I've certainly got a lot more lazy the last year and a half when it comes to moving my body. But my partner Jody is great at getting me back out and doing that. And Harley, her 8-year-old son, means that we go on multiple adventures all the time. So we've got lots of spots we can show you. But I would also love to just, if I can build in 5 years' time to the point where I can email you and say, I'd like to fly you and the band over to play a show. I promise you, that's what I'm working towards, is trying to then bring and spread. And another thing that I always do, so I don't forget, is usually suggest bands that I feel from all around the world that you might have a similar vibe to and connect with. And I think that there are bands that I will share with you next time, or email you, because this isn't like my usual conversations. I came in blind, just wanting to do what we did and dance and figure out how we all flow and act. So yeah, come to Canada, play a show, go on a hike. And Liz saying in the chat here, when it comes to merch, because what I do at all my contesting is, we buy the contesting from independent bands and then gift it out through the contest to the subscribers. I would love to buy some signed vinyl from you both. I don't know what the best way of doing that is. I'd like to buy at least 5 signed vinyl. And however we can orchestrate that, if I message through Natasha and Looters or whatever, but that's absolutely, Liz, what is going to happen. And also, like, damn, the vinyl does look very, very cool. So that red and the packaging, it's time for crazy vinyl. The last 5 years, let's get crazy, you know?
The waiting times are crazy as well.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But no, just thank you both so much. I just really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your art, and I appreciate your souls. I just think you're so magnificently talented.
Oh, your kind words. It was really nice to talk to you.
Yeah. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Well, have a great evening in Rotterdam, and we will connect soon. And
Yes.
yeah, I'll email Natasha about getting a message to you to sort out the vinyl.
Yeah, we'll arrange that.
Cool.
No worries.
All right.
No problem.
See you in a bit. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye. Those two are both wonderful and utterly clinical when it comes to their craft. What a conversation with Milena and Thomas of Gold. And thank you for your time. Even if you just skip to the end to see what was it. I'm not on the end screen again. Sorry, I'm not getting angry at you. I was getting angry at me. You see, sometimes on a Sunday, I sit down and record multiple intros and outros for the conversation, and it all gets a bit blurry. Fucking hell. What even was I saying a moment ago? Just how awesome they were? Because that's nothing's changed there. That still holds the same strength of the first time it was shared with you. Okay. Whatever you're doing the rest of your day, and as always, look after yourself. And hope there's some fun and smiles involved in the rest of it too, because we've got to cherish that positive. For now. Cheerio.